Ethan Carter had always felt like he did not belong in Millbrook, Kansas. The small town was quiet, peaceful, and boring. Every day looked the same. He woke up, helped his mother on their small farm, went to school, and came back home. The wheat fields stretched forever in every direction, and nothing exciting ever happened. But Ethan dreamed of more. He dreamed of adventure, of distant places, of doing something that mattered. His best friend Marcus often laughed at him and told him to be realistic, but Ethan could not shake the feeling that his life was meant for something bigger. His father had disappeared 9 years ago, when Ethan was just 8 years old. One morning, his dad was there. The next morning, he was gone. The police searched for months, but found nothing. His mother Linda never talked about it. She just worked harder and kept her pain hidden inside. But Ethan remembered something. Before he vanished, his father had given him a folded map and a strange note. The note said, "When the sky burns, follow the light." Ethan never understood what it meant. He kept the map and note hidden in his nightstand, looking at them sometimes late at night. On the evening of his 17th birthday, everything changed. The day started normal. His mother made him breakfast and gave him a small gift. A new watch. Marcus came over after school, and they played video games until dinner. His mother made his favorite meal, and they ate together quietly. It was a simple, happy day. That night, Ethan could not sleep. He stood by his window and looked at the stars. The sky was clear and beautiful, filled with millions of tiny lights. He often wondered if there was life out there, somewhere far away. Then he saw it. A streak of fire crossed the sky. Then another. Then dozens more. The sky lit up with falling stars, more than Ethan had ever seen. It was beautiful and terrifying at the same time. The streaks of light came closer and closer, and Ethan realized they were not normal meteors. One of them crashed somewhere behind the farm, maybe half a mile away. The ground shook, and Ethan saw a bright flash of light. His heart pounded in his chest. He remembered his father's note, "When the sky burns, follow the light." Without thinking, he grabbed his jacket and ran outside. The night air was cold, and the wheat fields were dark. Ethan ran toward the glow in the distance, his feet crushing the dry stalks beneath him. His breath came fast and hard. He did not know what he would find, but something pulled him forward. He found the crater at the edge of their property. It was not large, maybe 10 feet wide, but the ground around it was blackened and smoking. In the center sat something that was definitely not a rock. It was a container. Sleek and black, shaped like a long box, with strange symbols carved into its surface. The symbols glowed faintly with a blue light. Ethan approached slowly, his hands shaking. He knelt beside the container and touched it. It was warm, not hot. The moment his fingers made contact, the symbols glowed brighter, and the container opened with a soft hiss. Inside, resting on a bed of silver fabric, was a blade. It was the most beautiful thing Ethan had ever seen. The blade was about 2 feet long, curved slightly, made of a metal that seemed to shift colors in the light. The handle was wrapped in something that looked like leather but felt smoother and stronger. Strange symbols ran along the blade itself, matching the ones on the container. Ethan reached out and wrapped his fingers around the handle. The world exploded. Images flooded his mind. He saw galaxies spinning in the void, stars being born and dying, planets covered with cities of light. He saw wars, terrible wars, with ships the size of mountains firing weapons that could crack worlds. He saw creatures of every shape and size. Some beautiful, some terrifying, some terrifying. And he heard a voice. "You have been chosen." Ethan gasped and fell backward, the blade still in his hand. His head hurt, and his vision was blurry. He lay on his back, staring at the stars above, trying to understand what had just happened. "Do not be afraid," the voice said. It was calm and deep, speaking directly into his mind. "I am Vortanic, last guardian of the Aethran civilization. I have been waiting 10,000 years for someone worthy to find this blade. I am just a kid," Ethan managed to say out loud. I am nobody. You are far from nobody, Vortonic replied. Your species carries a genetic marker that my people placed in your ancestors long ago. You have potential that you cannot yet imagine. The blade chose you. Ethan Carter. That is not an accident. Ethan sat up slowly, looking at the weapon in his hand. It felt right somehow, like it belonged there. The pain in his head was fading, replaced by a strange warmth. What do you want from me? He asked. A darkness is spreading across the galaxy, Vortonic said. An empire of conquerors called the Kethari. They destroy worlds and enslave species. For centuries, they have searched for this blade, because it is the only weapon that can stop them. Now they have felt its awakening. They are coming. Ethan felt ice run through his veins. Coming here? To Earth? Yes. He stumbled to his feet and ran home. He burst through the door and found his mother in the kitchen, looking worried. Ethan, what happened? I heard a crash, and then you were gone. What is that in your hand? He tried to explain. He showed her the blade. Told her about the voice. About the visions. She looked at him like he had gone crazy. He could not blame her. The next day, he told Marcus. His friend laughed at first, thinking it was a joke. But Ethan was serious, and Marcus could see it in his eyes. Prove it, Marcus said. They were standing by Marcus's old truck when a deer suddenly ran into the road ahead of them. Marcus hit the brakes, but the truck was moving too fast. They were going to hit it. Without thinking, Ethan raised the blade. A shield of golden light burst from the weapon and surrounded the truck. The vehicle stopped instantly, gently, without even a jolt. The deer ran away safely. Marcus stared at Ethan with wide eyes. Okay, he whispered. I believe you. 3 days later, the sky darkened at noon. People across the world looked up and saw something impossible. A massive ship, miles long, descended through the clouds. It was black and covered with weapons, and it blocked out the sun. Commander Zyrith had arrived. Television stations broadcast panic. Governments tried to respond, but their missiles and jets were useless against the alien vessel. It just hung there, silent and waiting. Then a message came, broadcast to every screen and speaker on the planet. Humans of Earth, a cold voice said. You have something that belongs to me. Surrender the blade, or your world will burn. Ethan stood in his front yard, looking up at the massive ship. The blade hummed in his hand, and Vortonic's voice whispered in his mind. The battle begins, young one. Are you ready? Ethan did not feel ready. He felt terrified. But he gripped the blade tighter and made a choice. He was not going to let his planet burn. The world had never seen anything like it. The alien warship hung over North America like a dark cloud, casting a shadow that stretched for hundreds of miles. Cities emptied as people fled in panic. Armies gathered but could do nothing. Every weapon they fired bounced harmlessly off invisible shields. Ethan watched the news with his mother and Marcus. World leaders begged for calm, but their voices shook with fear. Nobody knew what to do. They want the blade, Linda said quietly. Maybe you should give it to them. Maybe they will leave us alone. They will not leave, Vortonic said in Ethan's mind. The Kethari do not make deals. If you give them the blade, they will still destroy your world. That is what they do. That is all they do. Ethan looked at his mother. She was afraid, and he understood why. She had already lost her husband. She did not want to lose her son too. I cannot give it to them, Mom, Ethan said softly. If I do, everyone dies anyway. That night, Ethan made a decision. He could not just wait for the aliens to attack. He had to do something. The blade had power. Real power. Maybe he could use it to stop this before it got worse. The blade can take you to their ship, Vortonic explained. It can create a bridge through space. A doorway. But I must warn you, young one. You are not trained. Commander Xyrith is one of the most dangerous warriors in the galaxy. You cannot defeat him. I do not have to defeat him, Ethan said. I just have to make him understand that we will not give up without a fight. Before Marcus could stop him, Ethan activated the blade. Blue light surrounded him, and suddenly he was somewhere else. The inside of the Kethari ship was dark and cold. The walls were made of black metal, covered with more strange symbols. Red lights pulsed along the floor, leading deeper into the vessel. Ethan could hear the hum of massive engines all around him. He walked forward, his heart beating fast. Kethari soldiers spotted him almost immediately. They were tall, nearly 7 feet, with gray skin and 4 arms. Their faces were flat and expressionless, with small black eyes that showed no emotion. They raised their weapons, but Ethan moved faster than he knew he could. The blade guided his hands, showing him how to deflect their shots and cut through their armor. He did not kill them, just disabled their weapons and knocked them down. More soldiers came, and he fought through them all. It was like the blade was fighting for him, pulling his body in the right direction, showing him where attacks would come from before they happened. Finally, he reached the command center. Commander Xyrith stood waiting for him. The Kethari warlord was different from the others. He was taller, broader, and wore armor that looked ancient and powerful. His 4 arms each held a weapon, and his eyes glowed with a faint red light. So, Xyrith said, his voice deep and cold, the blade has chosen a child. The Aetherans must truly be desperate. Of quote. Amangsetter. 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 Leave my planet, Ethan said, trying to keep his voice steady. Take your ship and go. We do not want war. Xyrith laughed. It was not a pleasant sound. Want has nothing to do with it, little human. War is coming whether you want it or not. The only question is how quickly your species will die. He attacked without warning. Ethan had never fought anyone so fast or so strong. Xyrith moved like water, his 4 arms striking from every direction at once. The blade helped Ethan block and dodge, but he was pushed back step by step. He could not find any opening to attack. A kick caught him in the chest and sent him flying across the room. He hit the wall hard and fell to the ground, gasping for breath. The blade slipped from his fingers. Xyrith walked toward him slowly, enjoying the moment. I have killed thousands of warriors far better than you, he said. Champions of ancient civilizations, masters of combat. You are nothing. Just a scared child playing with a weapon you do not understand. Ethan's hand found the blade again. Something changed inside him. He thought of his mother, alone and afraid. He thought of Marcus, who had always believed in him. He thought of all the people on Earth who were counting on someone to save them. He stood up. The blade began to glow, brighter than before. Its shape shifted, becoming longer, sharper. Symbols along its edge burned with blue fire. Xyrith's eyes widened. Impossible, he whispered. The true form. Ethan attacked. He did not know where the skill came from, but suddenly he was moving just as fast as Xyrith, matching him blow for blow. The Kethari warlord was pushed back, surprised and confused. Their duel shook the entire ship. Sparks flew as their weapons clashed again and again. Xyrith was still stronger, still more experienced. But now there was doubt in his eyes. This human child should not be able to fight like this. Ethan managed to cut one of Xyrith's arms. The warlord roared in pain and rage. He attacked with new fury, and Ethan knew he could not hold on much longer. His body was exhausted, pushed far beyond its limits. I cannot win this fight, he told Vortanic in his mind. No, the Guardian agreed. But you have done enough. Hold on. The blade flashed, and suddenly Ethan was falling through blue light. He crashed onto something soft and cold. Snow. He was lying in snow, somewhere in the mountains, far from home. He tried to stand but collapsed. His body ached everywhere. He could see blood on the snow. His own blood. The fight with Xyrith had hurt him badly. Help! He tried to call out, but his voice was weak. He heard footsteps crunching through the snow. A face appeared above him. A girl about his age, with brown hair and worried eyes. "Oh my God," she said. "Are you okay? What happened to you?" Her name was Chloe Bennett, and she was camping with her family nearby. She helped him up and brought him to their tent, where her father, a former Marine, treated his wounds. They asked him questions, but Ethan did not know what to tell them. "You would not believe me if I told you," he said. Chloe looked at the blade in his hand. It had stopped glowing, but it still looked strange and alien. "Try me," she said. So he told her everything. About the crater, the blade, the voice in his head, the alien ship, and his fight with Xyrith. Chloe listened without interrupting. When he finished, she was quiet for a long moment. "The news is saying that the alien ship pulled back," she finally said. "They are not hovering over Kansas anymore. They moved into orbit. Everyone is wondering why." "Because I heard him," Ethan said, understanding now. "Xyrith did not expect that. He is being careful." The next morning, another ship appeared in Earth's sky. But this one was different. It was silver and elegant, shaped like a bird in flight. A message came, not threatening, but peaceful. "We are the Galactic Coalition," a calm female voice said. "We come as friends, to offer help against the Cathari threat. We request contact with your leaders, and with the human who carries the blade of Aethron." Ethan looked at Chloe, who looked back at him with a small smile. "I think they are talking about you," she said. He had a choice to make. He could hide, let others deal with this, and hope everything worked out. Or he could step forward and accept that his life had changed forever. Marcus arrived that afternoon, having tracked Ethan through his phone. He looked tired and scared, but also relieved. "I thought you were dead, man," Marcus said, hugging him tightly. "Do not ever do that again." "I cannot promise that," Ethan replied honestly. The three of them, Ethan, Marcus, and Chloe, stood together as the coalition ship descended to meet them. Ambassador Celine, a tall humanoid with silver skin and kind eyes, stepped out and bowed respectfully. "You are the one who faced Xyrith and survived," she said. "In 10,000 years, only 3 beings have done that. The galaxy needs your help, Ethan Carter. Will you come with us?" Ethan gripped the blade and nodded. "Let's go." The coalition flagship was called the Starborn Hope, and it was bigger than any building Ethan had ever seen. It stretched for miles, a floating city among the stars, carrying thousands of beings from dozens of different species. Ethan, Marcus, and Chloe stood at a viewing window, watching Earth grow smaller behind them. It was beautiful from up here. A blue and green jewel floating in the darkness. Ethan felt a sharp pain in his chest. He was leaving home. Maybe forever. "We will come back," Marcus said, as if reading his thoughts. "We will save the galaxy and come back heroes. It will be awesome." Chloe smiled, but said nothing. She understood that things might not be that simple. Ambassador Celine gave them a tour of the ship. The crew was incredible to see. There were tall, insect-like beings with clicking voices. There were creatures made of living crystal that chimed when they moved. There were beings with no solid form, just patterns of light. And there were many others, too strange to describe. "The coalition is made up of 217 species," Selene explained. "We are united against the Cathari Empire. But unity does not mean agreement. Many here doubt that humans can help us. Your species is young and primitive by galactic standards." "Then why bring us here?" Ethan asked. "Because you carry the blade," Selene said. "And because I believe in potential. Humans have something special. Something I have not seen in other species. A fire that refuses to die. I want to see what that fire can do." The training began the next day. Ethan was taken to a massive arena deep inside the ship. Waiting for him were warriors from across the galaxy. They were huge, powerful, covered in scars from countless battles. They looked at Ethan like he was a joke. His instructor was a being named Krath, a 7-foot-tall warrior covered in thick scales. Krath had fought the Kethari for over 100 years and had lost his entire family to them. He did not smile, did not encourage, and did not show any mercy. "You have the blade," Krath said. "But the blade is only as good as the one who carries it. Right now, you are weak. You got lucky against Zyrith. Luck runs out. Skill does not." The first day, Ethan spent more time on the ground than on his feet. Krath knocked him down again and again, criticizing every movement, every stance, every breath. The other warriors laughed and made comments in languages Ethan did not understand. "The human cannot fight," one of them said loud enough for Ethan to hear. "Send him home before Zyrith kills him and takes the blade." Ethan wanted to give up. His body hurt everywhere. His pride hurt even worse. But Vortonic spoke to him that night. As he lay alone in his small room, "The Aetherans were not born warriors," the Guardian said. "We became warriors through suffering and persistence. Your species has the same quality. You do not know when to quit. That is your greatest strength." The next day, Ethan got up and trained again, and the day after that, and the day after that. Slowly, things began to change. The blade started responding to him better, moving with his body instead of for it. He learned to feel attacks before they came, to move without thinking, to let the ancient knowledge stored in the weapon flow through him. Weeks passed. The warriors who laughed at him stopped laughing. Some began to watch him with new interest. One of them, a female warrior named Vera with 4 eyes and blue skin, approached him after a training session. "You are improving," she said. It was not exactly a compliment, but it was not an insult either. "Maybe humans are not as useless as I thought." Meanwhile, Marcus and Chloe were proving themselves in other ways. Marcus had always been good with machines. Back home, he could fix any car, any tractor, any piece of equipment that broke down. Here, among technology thousands of years more advanced, he should have been lost. But he was not. The Coalition engineers were impressed by how quickly he learned. More than that, they were amazed by his creativity. When a standard repair did not work, Marcus would invent something new, combining alien technology in ways nobody had tried before. "Your friend thinks differently," one of the engineers told Ethan. "He does not follow our rules. He makes his own. It is strange but effective." Chloe found her place among the military strategists. Her father had taught her tactics and survival skills. But more than that, she had a natural ability to see patterns and predict outcomes. She could look at a battle plan and immediately spot the weaknesses. At first, the alien commanders ignored her suggestions. But when her predictions kept coming true, they started to listen. She was invited to planning meetings, the only human besides Ethan to be included in high-level discussions. The 3 humans became something of a curiosity on the ship. Beings who had never seen their species before came to watch them train and work. Some were curious, some were skeptical, and some were openly hostile. "Humans are children," a senator from one of the oldest species said during a meeting. "They have only had spaceflight for a few decades. What can they possibly offer the Coalition?" Ethan stood up to respond. He was tired of being dismissed. "We offer the same thing we have always offered," he said. "We do not give up. We do not surrender. We fight even when we know we cannot win. Because that is who we are." The senator laughed. "Pretty words, but words do not win wars." "No," Ethan agreed. "But people do. People who believe in something bigger than themselves." There was tension among the Coalition leadership. Some wanted to use Earth as a trap, drawing the Kethari into a battle where billions of humans would die as a distraction. Others wanted to abandon the outer territories and retreat to better defended positions. Ethan refused to accept either option. "My people are not bait," he said firmly. "And we do not abandon anyone. There has to be another way." Ambassador Celine supported him. Together, they proposed a new plan: strike first. Hit the Kethari before they could organize another attack. Take the fight to them instead of waiting for them to come. It was risky. It was bold. It was exactly the kind of plan that humans would come up with. The coalition voted. The decision was close. But in the end, Ethan's plan was approved. The fleet would gather above Vanar Prime, the coalition capital, and prepare for the biggest battle in galactic history. The night before the fleet departed, Ethan stood alone in the training arena. He had changed so much in the past months. He was stronger, faster, and more skilled than he ever imagined possible. But he was still scared. Chloe found him there. She walked over and stood beside him, looking out at the stars through the transparent walls. "Scared?" she asked. "Terrified," he admitted. "Good," she said. "Being scared means you understand what is at stake." Only fools go into battle without fear. They stood together in comfortable silence for a while. "I am glad you found me in that snow," Ethan finally said. "I do not think I could do this without you and Marcus." Chloe smiled. "You would have found a way. That is what you do." The next morning, the fleet moved out. 3,000 ships from across the coalition, carrying millions of soldiers and crew. It was the largest force ever assembled against the Cathari. At the center of the formation was the Starborn Hope. And at the center of the Starborn Hope was Ethan Carter, a teenager from Kansas, with an ancient blade and a galaxy depending on him. He was as ready as he would ever be. Vanar Prime was the heart of the Galactic Coalition. It was a beautiful world of purple forests and silver oceans, home to over 10 billion beings. Massive cities floated above the clouds, connected by bridges of light. It was a symbol of everything the Coalition stood for: cooperation, diversity, and hope. And Commander Zyrith wanted to burn it all. The Coalition fleet waited in orbit, 3,000 ships arranged in defensive formations around the planet. Ethan stood on the bridge of the Starborn Hope, watching the stars for any sign of the enemy. "They are coming," Vortonic said in his mind. "I can feel them." Minutes later, the Cathari fleet appeared. It was massive, nearly twice the size of the Coalition forces. Dark ships filled the sky like a swarm of insects, weapons glowing red as they powered up. At the center of the enemy fleet was Zyreth's flagship, the Crimson Fang. Ethan recognized it immediately. That was where he had almost died weeks ago. That was where this would end. Ambassador Celine looked at Ethan. "Will you address the fleet?" she asked. Ethan was nervous. He was not good with speeches. He was just a kid from Kansas. But these beings, thousands of different species, were about to fight and die. They deserved to know why. He stepped forward to the communications panel. His voice would be broadcast to every ship in the fleet. "I know many of you do not know who I am," Ethan began, his voice shaking slightly. "I am not a great warrior or a wise leader. A few months ago, I was just a normal person, living a normal life. I did not ask for this. I did not want it." He paused, gathering his thoughts. "But here I am. And here you are. We are all scared. We all have people we love, places we want to protect. The enemy wants to take those things from us. They want to make us believe that we cannot win, that fighting is pointless, that we should just give up." His voice grew stronger. "I do not accept that. Giving up is not who we are. Every species here has faced darkness before. Every species has survived because they refuse to surrender. That is what makes us strong. Not our weapons or our ships, but our refusal to quit. Today, we fight together. Today, we show the Cathari that some things are worth dying for. And if we fall standing up, not on our knees." There was silence for a moment, then cheering erupted across the fleet. Beings of every kind roared and screamed their battle cries. They were ready. "Well said, young one," Vortonic whispered. "Your father would be proud." The battle began with fire. Cathari weapons lit up the darkness, sending beams of red energy crashing into Coalition shields. Ships exploded on both sides. The formations broke apart as thousands of smaller fighters launched into the chaos. Ethan piloted a small assault craft toward the front lines, the blade strapped to his back. Beside him flew Marcus and Chloe in their own ships. They had trained together, and they would fight together. "Enemy fighters incoming," Chloe called out. 7 of them, trying to flank our position. "I see them," Marcus replied. "Cover me." They worked as a team, weaving through the chaos, taking down enemy ships one by one. Ethan's blade let him sense danger before it arrived, and he called out warnings to his friends, but the Cathari kept coming. For every ship they destroyed, 3 more took its place. The coalition was being pushed back. Ethan landed his craft in the main hangar of a Cathari destroyer and fought his way through the ship, disabling its weapons from the inside. Coalition soldiers followed him, inspired by his courage. "The human leads from the front," one of them said. "I have never seen anything like it." Meanwhile, Marcus had taken command of a repair crew. Coalition ships were damaged and losing power, but Marcus kept them flying. He worked miracles with his tools, fixing things that should have been impossible to fix. "I need more time," a captain shouted as his ship drifted toward the planet's atmosphere. "You have got it," Marcus said, making connections and rerouting power. The ship's engines roared back to life at the last moment, pulling away from certain destruction. Chloe was in the command center of the Starborn Hope, watching the battle unfold on massive screens. She saw patterns the other strategists missed, predicted Cathari movements before they happened. "Pull the Third Fleet back," she ordered. "The enemy is setting a trap there. Move them to Sector 7 instead. Reinforce the medical ships." The officers hesitated. She was just a human teenager. But Ambassador Celine nodded. "Do as she says," Celine commanded. They did, and Chloe was right. The Cathari trap failed, and the Third Fleet saved hundreds of ships that would have been destroyed, but it was not enough. The coalition was still losing. Too many ships destroyed, too many lives lost. The Cathari flagship broke through the defensive lines and headed straight for Vanar Prime. Commander Xyrith was done waiting. Ethan saw the flagship moving and knew what he had to do. He flew his damaged craft into the Crimson Fang's hangar and fought his way to the command center. This time, he was not an untrained boy. This time, he was ready. Xyrith was waiting for him. "You came back," the warlord said, almost pleased. "I hoped you would. Our last fight was interrupted. This time, there will be no escape." They fought. It was the most incredible duel anyone had ever witnessed. The battle outside paused as warriors on both sides watched through cameras and sensors. 2 figures, 1 human, and 1 Cathari, clashing in a storm of light and steel. Ethan had learned so much since their last encounter. He matched Xyrith blow for blow, ducking under strikes, spinning away from attacks, finding openings that would have been invisible to him before. But Xyrith was still stronger, still more experienced. He had been fighting wars for centuries. Ethan had been training for months. "You have improved," Xyrith admitted, pressing his advantage. "But improvement is not enough. You cannot defeat me." "Maybe not," Ethan said. "But I can stop you." He saw an opening. It would require him to drop his guard completely, leaving himself vulnerable. Xyrith's blade would kill him, but his own blade would reach Xyrith's heart first. It was not a winning move. It was a sacrifice. "Ethan, no," Vortonic shouted in his mind. But Ethan had already decided. Some things were worth dying for. He attacked. Xyrith's blade pierced his chest, but Ethan's blade found its mark. The ancient weapon sank into the warlord's heart, and the symbols along its edge burned with light so bright that everyone watching had to look away. Xyrith screamed. His body turned to ash, scattered by energy he could not contain. The blade of Aethron had destroyed him completely, leaving nothing behind. Ethan fell. The Cathari fleet lost all coordination. Without Xyrith, without their command structure, they panicked. Coalition forces rallied, pushing back the confused enemy. Ships retreated or surrendered. The battle was won, but at what cost? Chloe and Marcus found Ethan on the floor of the Crimson Fang's command center. He was barely breathing, his chest wound terrible to look at. Blood pooled beneath him. No, 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 Marcus kept saying, tears streaming down his face. Come on, buddy, stay with us. Chloe held Ethan's hand, squeezing it tight. You did it, she whispered. You saved everyone. You cannot leave now. Ethan looked at them with fading eyes. He tried to smile. Worth it, he managed to say. Vortonic's voice came one last time, speaking not just to Ethan but to all of them. There is a way, the Guardian said. The blade can heal him. But to do so, I must give up the last of my essence. I will be gone forever. Do it, Marcus said immediately. Whatever it takes. Ethan must choose. Vortanic replied. The blade only responds to his will. Chloe leaned close to Ethan's ear. Choose to live, she begged. Please. Choose us. The blade began to glow. Ethan opened his eyes. White light surrounded him. He was floating in an empty space, peaceful and warm. There was no pain, no fear, nothing but gentle silence. Where am I? He asked. Vortonic appeared before him, not as a voice but as a figure. The ancient guardian was tall and graceful, with silver skin and eyes that held 10,000 years of wisdom. He smiled at Ethan like a proud father. You are between, Vortonic said, between life and death, between ending and beginning. You have a choice to make, young one. Chloe told me to choose to live, Ethan said. She loves you. Vortonic replied. They both do. You have built something rare, a bond that crosses all boundaries. It is beautiful to see. Ethan looked at the Guardian. What happens to you if I live? Vortonic's smile was sad but not bitter. I will be gone. Truly gone this time. The last fragment of the Aethran civilization will fade away. But that is, as it should be. My people had their time. Now it is your time. Humanity's time. I do not want you to die for me, Ethan said, his voice breaking. You are not asking me to, Vortonic said gently. I am choosing to. That is the difference. I have watched over this blade for 10,000 years, waiting for someone worthy. I found that someone, everything I am, everything my people were, will live on through you. That is not death. That is immortality. The Guardian stepped forward and placed his hand on Ethan's chest, right where the wound was. Live well, Ethan Carter. Be brave. Be kind. Remember that true strength is not about winning every fight. It is about standing up for those who cannot stand for themselves. The galaxy will need you in the days ahead. Dark times are coming. But I believe in you. I always have. Light poured from Vortonic's hand into Ethan's body. The Guardian began to fade, becoming transparent, then invisible, then gone. Goodbye, Ethan whispered. Thank you. He woke up gasping. He was in a medical bay, surrounded by machines and worried faces. Chloe was holding one hand, Marcus the other. Ambassador Celine stood nearby with tears in her eyes. Doctors from half a dozen species crowded around, monitoring his vital signs. He is alive, one of them said in disbelief. The wound is completely healed. This is impossible. Apparently not, Marcus said, laughing through his tears. Apparently our boy does impossible things now. Chloe did not say anything. She just hugged him, holding on tight like she would never let go. The news spread quickly. Commander Xyrith was dead. The Kethari fleet was broken. The human who carried the blade of Ethron had saved Vanar Prime and won the greatest battle in galactic history. Ethan became a legend. Beings from across the coalition wanted to meet him, thank him, and celebrate him. There were ceremonies and awards and speeches. Leaders of ancient civilizations bowed to a 17-year-old from Kansas. It was overwhelming. Ethan did not feel like a hero. He felt like someone who got lucky and lost a friend in the process. Vortonic's absence was a constant ache in his heart. The voice that had guided him, encouraged him, and believed in him was silent now. The blade still worked. It still responded to his touch. still gave him strength and speed and instinct. But it felt emptier somehow. A tool instead of a companion. The Kethari Empire fell into chaos without Xyrath. Warlords fought each other for control, weakening their forces. Planets that had been conquered began to revolt. The threat was not over. But it was smaller now, more manageable. Earth changed too. Word of what Ethan had done reached his home planet. Humans learned that they were not alone in the universe, that there were friends and enemies among the stars, and that one of their own had made a difference. The coalition offered Earth full membership. It was a huge decision, debated by every government and discussed by every person. Some wanted to join, eager for new technology and new opportunities. Others wanted to stay isolated, afraid of what contact with aliens might bring. In the end, humanity chose to join. They chose connection over isolation, hope over fear. It was the human way. 2 months after the battle, Ethan went home. The wheat fields of Kansas looked different now. Smaller somehow, but also more precious. He had seen wonders beyond imagination. But this place, this simple farm in the middle of nowhere, was still home. His mother was waiting on the porch. She looked older than he remembered, worn down by worry and fear. When she saw him walking up the dirt road, she ran to meet him and held him like she would never let go. "I am so sorry, Mom," Ethan said. "I am sorry for everything." "Do not be sorry," Linda whispered. "I am proud of you. Your father would be proud of you." They talked for hours. Ethan told her everything, all the adventures and battles, all the friends he had made and the enemies he had faced. His mother listened with wide eyes, sometimes crying, sometimes laughing. "I always knew you were special," she said. "From the day you were born, I knew." Marcus came to visit the next day, then Chloe the day after that. The three of them sat together in the barn, just like old times, talking about everything and nothing. "So what now?" Marcus asked. "We saved the galaxy. What do we do for an encore?" "I was thinking we could relax for a while," Ethan said. "Maybe finish high school. Do normal stuff." Chloe laughed. "You think normal stuff is possible now? You are the most famous person in the galaxy." She was right. Even here in Millbrook, people recognized him. News crews camped outside the farm. Politicians called every day, wanting meetings and interviews. It was exhausting, but slowly, things calmed down. The world moved on, as it always did. New stories replaced old ones. People found new things to worry about and new things to celebrate. Ethan tried to live a normal life. He went back to school, though it felt strange sitting in a classroom after fighting alien warlords. He helped his mother on the farm, enjoying the simple work under the open sky. He spent time with Marcus and Chloe, building friendships that had been forged in fire. 3 months passed. Summer came to Kansas, hot and golden. The wheat grew tall, and the days grew long. One evening, Ethan was sitting on the porch, watching the sunset, when a familiar silver ship descended from the sky. Ambassador Celine stepped out, looking serious. "I am sorry to disturb you," she said, "but the galaxy needs you again." Ethan sighed. He had known this moment would come. "What is happening?" Celine sat beside him. "The Kethari have found a new leader. Her name is Vexara, and she is more dangerous than Xyrath ever was. She has united the remaining warlords and is preparing for revenge. Her first target is Earth." Ethan felt the old fear rising in his chest, but with it came something else. Determination. "There is more," Celine continued. "We have discovered that the Aetherans may not be as extinct as we believed. Signals from their ancient homeworld. Someone, or something, is still there, waiting. We do not know if it is a threat or an ally, but we need to find out." The blade hummed softly at Ethan's side, as if responding to the news of its creators. "Why me?" Ethan asked. "There are thousands of warriors in the coalition. Why does it always have to be me?" Celine smiled gently. "Because you inspire them. When you fight, others believe they can win. When you stand up, Others stand with you. That is something that cannot be trained or built. It is simply who you are. Ethan looked back at the farmhouse. Through the window, he could see his mother preparing dinner. Behind him, Marcus and Chloe were walking up the road, having heard about the ship's arrival. He thought about Vortenek, about the sacrifice the Guardian had made. He thought about all the beings who had died at Venar Prime, fighting for something they believed in. He thought about Earth, his home, and the billions of people who were counting on someone to protect them. He was not the scared boy who had found a blade in a crater anymore. He was something more now. A champion, a symbol, a bridge between worlds. Marcus and Chloe reached the porch. They looked at Celine, then at Ethan, understanding immediately. "We are coming with you," Chloe said. It was not a question. "Obviously," Marcus added. "You would be lost without us." Ethan smiled at his friends, at his family. He picked up the blade of Aethron, feeling its familiar weight in his hand. The symbols along its edge glowed softly, as if welcoming him back. He turned to Ambassador Celine. "Let's go save the galaxy," he said. Again, the ship lifted off into the sunset, carrying 3 humans toward the stars. Behind them, Earth shone blue and green, beautiful and alive. The adventure was just beginning.